Bom, primeiramente, boa noite a todos. Eu sou a Bia Nóbrega, fui gentilmente convidada pelo IFL e pelo SLFB para hostear o evento. Eu agradeço muito pela oportunidade, é sempre bom a gente ter a oportunidade de realmente conseguir difundir ideias de liberdade, conseguir ainda mais juntar liberdade com felicidade e trazer essa mensagem para o público, para quem queira ouvir. Gostaria, em primeiro lugar, de agradecer também ao Tal por estar aqui, por nos dar essa chance de ouvir e ter todos os ensinamentos que eu sei que você vai trazer com excelência. Agradecer à organização do Instituto de Formação de Líderes de Brasília, do Students for Liberty do Distrito Federal e do LOLA, que é a Aliança de Mulheres pela Liberdade, que a gente também tem e que são os responsáveis por esse evento estar acontecendo aqui agora. Também agradecer ao patrocínio do Hospital de Olhos de Brasília e aos nossos parceiros, que são a LVM Editora, o Clube Ludovico e, deixa eu só ter certeza, a LVM Editora, o Clube Ludovico e a UDF, que disponibilizou o espaço para que a gente fizesse a palestra. Hoje, acho que como todos sabem, nós vamos falar um pouco sobre como a felicidade e a liberdade e a filosofia ajudam cada ser humano, cada indivíduo a se desenvolver cada vez mais. O Tal traz uma lição que é extremamente randiana, que é como que a gente aprende a valorizar cada um de nós como nós somos e assim aprender a lutar pela nossa felicidade. Então eu gostaria de não me prolongar muito mais e convidar o Tal Tsfany, que é o presidente e CEO do Ayn Rand Institute. O Tal ele foi empreendedor, investidor e trabalhou por muitos anos nas indústrias e em diversas empresas de tecnologia, tanto nos Estados Unidos como em Israel, e também é cofundador do Ayn Rand Institute de Israel. Seja muito bem-vindo, Tal. Por favor, o palco é seu.
Good to start?
Please.
Thank you very much. So, first I want to congratulate the people who are here. You're
Primeiro quero parabenizar todos que estão aqui.
Here for an interesting talk, and I don't know what made you decide to be here today, but I assume it's something good, because you were attracted somehow to some interesting ideas that you know are important.
Eu gostaria de agradecer a oportunidade de todos estarem aqui para essa palestra, que é uma grande oportunidade para aprendermos mais sobre liberdade e felicidade.
So, what I will do today is tell you a little about my own journey.
O que eu vou fazer hoje é contar um pouco sobre a minha jornada.
That was powered and completely transformed by the power of philosophy.
Que foi transformada pelo poder da filosofia.
So, and by the end of this presentation,
E ao fim dessa apresentação,
I hope that you will have a much better understanding, and maybe a window would open or a door would open for you to ask deeper questions about your lives that will enable you to live it, I think, in a better, deeper way.
e que ao final dessa apresentação vocês possam ter uma concepção, ter uma concepção profunda sobre o que é a sua vida e se perguntar mais sobre si mesmos.
Okay, so I will. Let me see if that. Okay, so I'm going to talk about things that are usually not talked about.
Eu vou falar sobre coisas que geralmente não são faladas.
Things that are a secret for some reason. Things that are sensitive. Things that we take for granted.
Coisas que geralmente são segredos, coisas que nós não levamos em consideração.
And you will see that some of the things I will say will create an emotional reaction in you, either positive or negative.
E vocês vão perceber que as coisas que eu vou falar vão criar uma reação em vocês, talvez positivas ou negativas.
And the reason why it will create an emotional reaction is that we with knowing or without knowing, carry within us a philosophical code.
Isso é porque dentro de nós carregamos esse código filosófico.
That really guides our life into how to lead it, what is the good, what is the bad, what is moral, what is immoral.
E assim a gente percebe o que é moral, o que é imoral e essa percepção de valores.
So I will try to take something that is usually very obscure and very unclear and try to make some order in it.
Eu vou pegar algo que geralmente é meio obscuro e confuso e tentar organizar isso.
Okay, so I will now I will tell a little bit of story, so I will stretch it a little bit more.
Agora eu vou contar uma história.
So, and I'm sure you will remember. So the story, my story, is that I was turning 40 years old, and I had a little house, not that little, and I had a car, and it was not that little, and I had a beautiful family. You see, this is my beautiful wife and my 3 kids. And it was, usually they look nice, but this is how usually the house is, you know, it's upside down.
Então, essa é a minha história. Quando eu tinha 40 anos, eu tinha uma casa não tão pequena e um carro não tão pequeno. E essa é a minha família, que aparentemente está tudo lindo, mas geralmente é isso que acontece na nossa casa.
And if you ask me about how is my life going, I would say perfect. I would say it's great, right? If you go out in the street and ask people, are you happy? Everything good? What do you think most people will say? Perfect. I'm happy. You know, I'm alive, I have food, I have a family, people that I love. Everything's great, right?
Então, se me perguntarem como é a minha vida, eu vou dizer que é perfeita. O que a gente responde quando alguém nos pergunta se estamos bem na rua? Falamos que está tudo bem. Então, é isso.
Yeah. But if you really got close to me and we would have, I don't know, a beer, drink something, and you asked me, are you truly, truly happy, fulfilled? I mean, to the highest level. Is it the best life you can imagine for yourself? Are you living it? I would say, not quite.
Então, mas se você chegar bem perto e bem próximo e perguntar se você realmente está no topo da felicidade, realmente se sente satisfeito, eu diria quase.
Because what I mean by happiness is that being in a state where I can almost not imagine a better life that I'm living.
Porque o que eu imagino como felicidade é aquilo que quando você está quase nesse momento de felicidade, quando você imagina a vida que você quer viver.
And then one day I was working, I moved from Israel to the United States. I was working for a software company and I was, you know, a VP in a very big 20,000 people company. And an employee of mine asked me, have you ever read Ayn Rand? And I said, who is Ayn Rand? And the next day she bought me this book.
Então eu me mudei de Israel para os Estados Unidos para trabalhar em uma grande companhia. E um dos meus funcionários perguntou se eu já li Ayn Rand. E eu falei, quem é Ayn Rand? E essa pessoa me apresentou esse livro.
So, the way I can describe, I think I should be pointing this way. The way I can describe my reaction to this book is as if I was out of myself, as if I was floating up in the air looking at my life in a different perspective. She was telling me a story and talking about ideas in ways that resonated with me in a way that felt like I'm, in a way, removed from myself and looking at my life in a new perspective.
Então a forma como eu me senti quando li esse livro era como se eu fosse levado para uma outra realidade, como se eu olhasse para mim mesmo com uma outra perspectiva, olhasse para mim em uma terceira pessoa.
it threw me back to when I was 6 years old. And when I was 6 years old, my grandmother wanted me to put the yarmulke, you know, Jewish yarmulke, kippah. And I asked her, because I was a very intellectual kid, why should I put it on my head? And she said, because you have to respect God, it's looking at you from above.
Então, quando eu tinha 6 anos, minha mãe queria que eu usasse o kippah. E eu, como uma criança muito inteligente, perguntei por que eu precisava daquilo. E ela respondeu, porque você precisa respeitar a Deus e a sua cultura.
So I remember I went into my uncle's room in my grandmother's house, and I closed the door, and I talked to God. I said, you know, I would love to believe in you and to serve you. I will be the most devoted believer if you just showed me that you exist, and that you know, I should follow you, you know, the Torah and everything, the 10 Commandments. If you just showed me that you exist. It was a childish question, but very straightforward, you know. So I waited, and God decided not to show up that day. And I went back to my grandmother, and I gave her back the kippah, and I said, I will put it on when God will prove that He exists.
Então eu fui para o meu quarto e orei a Deus e falei diretamente, dizendo que eu usaria o kippah e respeitaria Ele e oraria, falaria da Torá e dos 10 mandamentos, se Ele provasse que Ele existia e que se mostrasse para mim. E quando isso não aconteceu aquele dia, eu voltei para minha avó e devolvi o kippah e disse que eu usaria quando Deus se mostrasse para mim.
You see, I'm already touching a very touchy subject, because maybe some of you are religious. But I finished this experience feeling very confused, because I didn't have a straight answer. Does God exist or not exist? Should I follow His rules, not follow His rules? Is the Jewish God the right God? Because I heard there are other religions. Maybe other religions are right and Judaism is wrong. What is right and what is wrong? And nobody can give me an answer.
Então aqui eu já toquei em um tópico muito sensível, né? Porque eu falei de religião. E aqui a gente pode ver, será que o Deus judeu é o correto? Porque existem outras religiões. E será que elas são corretas e a minha é errada?
Okay, so I kept on with my life. I actually, before I show you that, at age of 13, I was moved from the city to a thing called Israeli kibbutz. Anyone knows what Israeli kibbutz is? Yeah. The kibbutz is when Russian immigrants moved from Russia to Israel in the 40s. They thought that communism was not implemented right in Russia, so they're going to try it again. And they created those communes, which was completely communistic. I mean, you didn't have any private property. I actually had a number. I had a number on all my clothes. And I was not living with my parents. I was living in a kid's house because I was the property of the kibbutz. So I was thrown from being a conservative environment to the most radical communist leftist environment. That was when I was 13.
Então, quando eu tinha 13 anos, eu fiz parte do kibbutz, kibbutz russos, quando eles trouxeram ali o comunismo. Então tudo era comunista, não tinha nenhum bem privado. Eu não morava mais com os meus pais, eu morava numa casa com crianças e eu tinha um número, então tudo era extremamente comunista ali.
And I was living with my I was living with myself. Okay, great. I didn't catch that. So one day, the family from the city, from my bar mitzvah, when I was 13, bought me a tape recorder. And I put it in my room, and one of my teachers came in and said, you cannot keep it, because it's unequal. And I said, over my dead body, you're not taking away this tape recorder. So they had a committee, and they decided that I can keep it only if I let everybody play their cassettes on my tape recorder.
Então, quando eu fiz 13 anos no meu bar mitzvah, eu ganhei um gravador de vídeo, de fita. E na casa eles disseram que eu não podia ficar com aquilo porque aquilo não era de todo mundo. E eu falei, não, eu não vou deixar com que levem meu tape recorder. E por isso eles disseram que eu só poderia ficar com aquilo se todo mundo pudesse brincar com a gravadora.
So what I did is basically agreed, but then nobody got to play their cassettes on my tape recorder. But this is how I rejected. I actually argued because they couldn't explain to me why a human being cannot have private property. It sounded very unnatural to me. The same, it threw me back to age 6. It's like, there's something very weird about asking me to believe in things that I've never seen. Now I'm asked to do it again, to believe in things that I don't understand. Like, why should I care about other people and give them what I have before taking care of myself or being focused about what is good for me? Nobody could explain that. Just saying, it's because we believe so.
Então eu concordei, mas não deixei ninguém brincar com a gravadora. E era isso, e eu voltei para aquele pensamento de quando eu tinha 6 anos. Como eu vou acreditar em algo em que eu ainda não entendo? E...
Okay. Oh, the final part is that I was asked to believe in things without any explanation again. Yeah, that's it. I think that's what I said. Okay, but I'll move on. To be raised in an environment where you are asked to believe in things without explanation makes an impression. And I was a very logical, very intellectual kid, but I thought that I guess I should not be explaining everything. And not everything should make sense. In math and in science, I was asked to be correct or not. 2 + 2 always equals 4. But when it comes to morality, to religion, to what is good about life, should I share things with the moral code, everything was vague. Nobody could really explain it like 2 + 2 equals 4. It was gray, not black and white.
Então, conforme eu fui crescendo, eu sempre fui uma criança muito intelectual e muito racional. E eu via que, por exemplo, na matemática, é sempre o certo ou o errado. 2 + 2 é 4. Mas quando se tratava da moral, da religião, ninguém tinha uma resposta concreta. Era tudo muito vago, muito abstrato.
And another thing that nobody taught me is how to be happy. All I heard is, you like playing the drums, but wait till you grow up. You have to be serious. You have to be an engineer, a doctor, whatever, but something serious. So I was a very good drummer when I was 17. I don't know if you know this movie called Whiplash. If you didn't see Whiplash, it's a great movie. It was like me when I was 17. I was practicing 6 hours a day. I was a jazz drummer. But my family said, drumming, it's not serious, right?
Então, mais uma coisa é a minha relação com a felicidade. Às vezes a gente trata com as crianças, por exemplo, eu quero ser baterista e a gente fala, espera até você crescer. E aí somos falados que temos que ser engenheiros e médicos quando nós temos esse sonho, né? Eu era um ótimo baterista quando eu tinha 17 anos. Por exemplo, temos esse filme que é Whiplash, super recomendo. E eu era assim, eu treinava 6 horas por dia, eu era um baterista de jazz, mas minha família disse para abaixar a bola.
So, without really guidance on how to follow my passions for music, for poetry, for writing, I put that all aside. And I said no to the drums, and I became a pilot in the Israeli army.
Então, nisso, eu aprendi a deixar de lado as minhas paixões, como a escrita, a poesia e a bateria, e disse não para isso e me tornei piloto da Força Aérea.
And then when I graduated from the army, I became a substitute teacher. So I was starting my studies, and I was working in a school, And I would get a call every morning if one of the teachers were sick, and they said, if you can come in. And the beautiful thing is that I had no plan. I would walk into a classroom, and I got to do whatever I want, talk to them whatever I want, and teach them whatever I want.
E aí, com 22 anos, eu começando meus estudos, eu fui professor substituto. Então, toda manhã, alguém me ligava dizendo que o professor estava doente e se eu poderia substituir. E a melhor parte é que eu não tinha nenhum plano. Então, eu chegava na sala de aula e poderia fazer tudo o que eu quisesse, do jeito que eu quisesse.
And that was one of the happiest periods of my life. I love teaching. You see, I love being on stage. I love communicating ideas. So I was very happy, but then, I had to be serious. So I took an engineering job as an industrial engineer. I moved to software, and I'll skip all of that, but that's basically.
Mas, você vê, eu amo ensinar, eu estou aqui nesse palco, eu adoro fazer isso, mas eu precisava de algo mais sério, perdão, obrigada. Mais sério, e por isso eu fiz engenharia e trabalhei com softwares.
And then I won't take you through the whole story, but I became very successful in software. I was, like I said, the vice president of a 20,000 people company. And this is when I moved from Israel to the United States in 2006, when I was 36. And when I was 40, I go back to the moment when I read the book. I felt like I'm turning 40, and there's something really missing in my life, a big thing.
Então eu trabalhei com software e fui bem sucedido nisso. Eu era vice-presidente de uma empresa com 200 mil funcionários, mas chegou no ponto que eu estava com 40 anos, li esse livro e pensei, tem alguma coisa faltando, uma coisa muito importante faltando.
This passion, when I see heroes, when I read books about heroes, when I think about my hero, someone like Steve Jobs, where you see the passion in what they do, the business people, the artists, the poets, the tennis player. I love Roger Federer, Ayrton Senna, the Brazilian. Ayrton Senna was a hero of mine. When I saw him race, because I love race cars, my heart would sing. It's like, I want to be like him, and he's going all the way with his life. Why can't I have a life like Ayrton Senna?
Então, essa paixão, eu comecei a explorar isso e pensar nos meus heróis, como por exemplo Steve Jobs ou até Ayrton Senna, porque ele foi um dos meus heróis, porque eu amo corrida de carro, e pensava, por que eu não posso viver uma vida assim, uma vida satisfeita naquilo que eu faço?
So I read Atlas Shrugged, and after I read Atlas Shrugged, I read another book by Ayn Rand called The Fountainhead.
Então eu li A Revolta do Atlas e li outro livro da Ayn Rand que se chama A Nascente.
And after I finished the last page of The Fountainhead, which talks about an architect who does not compromise about anything. He has a vision about how his life he wants the life he wants, and the creative vision that he has for himself, and he won't compromise. He refuses to build buildings because they want him to compromise on the design of the buildings. He would rather work in a quarry, right? But not build the buildings not the way he wants to build. So he's a single-minded, super non-compromising hero that really made me decide to change my own life.
Então, nesse livro, A Nascente, conta a história de um arquiteto que não se compromete com esses trabalhos e a companhia quer que ele trabalhe de certa forma, mas ele prefere trabalhar numa pedreira do que não fazer aquilo que ele gosta. Então, nessa jornada do herói, eu me identifiquei muito com isso.
So I decided at the age of 40 I have one life to live, and it's getting shorter. Time is running out, so I'm starting a new page. And it's something that very few people decide to do because the cost, the emotional, psychological cost of taking so much change and risk in the middle of your life is very, very high. So this is why my story is a little different, and I don't think you have to wait to 40, but you can do it at any age, and that's what I'm going to talk about. How to open a new life, or open a new page in your life that I think can be more meaningful.
Então aí, quando eu tinha 40 anos, eu decidi mudar a minha vida. E isso pode ser difícil, porque tanto tem esse peso psicológico de começar de novo, mas quando temos uma vida e a vida vai ficando curta, a gente precisa tomar esse passo. E é o que eu aconselho todos a fazerem, mas talvez não esperar até os 40, mas em qualquer idade é possível.
So this is Ayn Rand. She was born in Russia in the early 20th century, and she moved to America in 1921 and became a novelist and then a philosopher. For me, she's one of the greatest minds who ever lived. If you think about the philosophers who changed the world dramatically, there are 4 of them. It's Plato, his student Aristotle, and they represent the 2 opposites in world philosophy. Plato is the mystic, and Aristotle is the realistic. If you will, the one looking up to the sky in Raphael's famous painting. Plato is with his hand up, and Aristotle, how do we say that in Portuguese? Aristoteles? Yes. He's with his hand down. Plato saying, we should look at the sky to know things. Knowledge comes as a revelation to us. And Aristotle says, no. We should look at reality with the power of our mind. We will gain knowledge.
Então essa é Ayn Rand. Ela nasceu na Rússia no começo do século XX, se mudou para os Estados Unidos em 1921. Ela foi uma grande filósofa e trouxe para nós muito conhecimento. E quando a gente pensa nos filósofos mais conhecidos e mais importantes que realmente mudaram a história do mundo, nós pensamos em 4. Primeiramente Platão e Aristóteles. E como vemos, os 2 têm ideias diferentes. Platão tem essa ideia mística em que devemos olhar para o céu e entender as coisas através do cosmos, e Aristóteles já tem uma visão realista que devemos olhar para nós mesmos e com a nossa mente pensar nisso.
And the 2 philosophers that are based on Plato and Aristotle is Immanuel Kant, who comes much later, and he creates a new type. So Plato created or supported all the religions. If you think about world history, all the eras that were governed by religion, mainly, so it was Aristotle during the Renaissance, not the Renaissance, but the first Greek era, and then Plato took over in the Roman era, and then as Christianity was rising, this is where we got to the Middle Age, the Dark Ages, Middle Ages, and then Thomas Aquinas brings back Aristotle. And this is where we're starting to see the Renaissance, because of bringing back Aristotle. And after the Renaissance, we have the scientific revolution of Newton, the political revolution of America, the industrial revolution of America, all because of the fact that Aristotle is back.
Então, outro filósofo muito conhecido é Immanuel Kant. Ele que baseou seu pensamento na ideia de Platão e Aristóteles, e quando vemos ali na Idade Média, quando Aristóteles volta, logo depois disso vem a Renascença, e aí vemos essa revolução científica com Newton e a revolução política nos Estados Unidos, tudo isso porque o pensamento de Aristóteles volta.
And the same year that America was born, Immanuel Kant publishes The Critique of Pure Reason, trying to, in a way, bring back Plato, but in a different twist. And I won't go into what Immanuel Kant created, but he basically tried to destroy reason. And he was the father of what we're seeing right now. If you ask yourself, where did all of the isms come? Communism, socialism, fascism, Nazism, collectivism, tribalism, all of that, well, tribalism was before. All of those became because Kant brought Plato back and presented it in a new way. So everything we are living right now, the decline that I think we're going to experience back from the period of the Renaissance all the way up to, let's say, 50, 60, 100 years ago, is because of Immanuel Kant.
E aí, no mesmo ano que a América nasceu, Immanuel Kant publicou esse livro que meio que baseia todos esses pensamentos socialistas, comunistas, nazistas, fascistas, tudo que vivemos e estamos vivendo vem através do pensamento de Immanuel Kant.
And Ayn Rand is an Aristotelian. She takes the same premises, the deep premises of we can know reality with the power of our mind, and improves on that. And she says, I could not be the philosopher that I am without seeing the amazing explosion of innovation and flourishing that happened during the Industrial Revolution of America. So she said that she is improving on Aristotle's ideas and created a new philosophy called Objetivism that is taking reason and putting it back and in a way completing and correcting a lot of Aristotle's original philosophy.
Mas Ayn Rand surge, né, com essa nova filosofia, juntamente com essa revolução industrial na América, e cria o objetivismo, trazendo de volta o pensamento de Aristóteles.
Now, she's a very young philosopher. She was really doing her philosophy work in the 50s and 60s, and some in the 70s. She died in 1982, and in the span of philosophies and human history, where she's a very young phenomenon, and it will take time for the culture to really understand and absorb what she's offering us. By the way, I brought several books that just came out in Portuguese that are her non-fiction that she wrote after writing the novels.
Então, a Ayn Rand era uma filósofa muito jovem. Então, ela atuou ali nos anos 50 e 60, ela morreu em 82. E, como vocês podem ver, aqui temos alguns livros que foram publicados em português, algumas obras de não-ficção para a gente explorar depois.
I'm going to give you some just highlights of what she's saying in Objectivism that I think you can ask me questions about, because there's a world of knowledge and I don't want to make it too long. By the way, who doesn't understand English at all here?
Quem que não entende inglês de jeito nenhum?
Okay. No English. Okay. So I will start with something very simple. When you look at the forest and you see a squirrel, you see that animal behaves in a specific way, and it has its own nature. It behaves in a specific way to live a life of a squirrel. It needs to find nuts. It needs to bury it in the ground. It needs to find a hole in a tree. It needs to find a mate. It needs to breed. And it needs to make sure that it doesn't get eaten by any kind of, prey, in order to live what we call a squirrel life.
Então eu vou começar bem simples. Por exemplo, o esquilo, quando você vê ele vive de uma maneira muito específica. Ele precisa procurar as nozes, ele precisa achar um buraco na árvore para viver, ele precisa achar uma parceira e reproduzir, ter certeza que ele não vai ser comido por nenhum predador. Então, essa é basicamente a nossa vida, nós somos esquilos.
If you drop this animal in the forest, what will happen to her? To it?
Se você jogar esse animal no meio de uma floresta, o que vai acontecer?
How do we as a species survive? What is our means of survival?
Como nós, como espécie, sobrevivemos? Quais são as maneiras
It's an open question, if anyone wants to answer it.
É uma pergunta.
If the squirrel eats nuts and is very fast and has a hole in a tree and knows how to take care of themselves by looking around all the time and moving fast and climbing trees. What is our means of survival? How are we supposed to live?
Se os esquilos têm toda essa forma de sobrevivência, subir nas árvores, andar rápido, procurar comida, quais são as nossas formas de sobrevivência?
Anyone has any ideas?
Alguém tem alguma ideia?
Pointing to here. Not to here. We're not fast, we're not strong, we're slower than a tiger, and we're not as flexible as a monkey, right? So how do we, as human beings, ended up as the species that control the world? What do we do that allow us to be so strong?
Reason.
Exactly.
Então, nós não somos tão rápidos quanto um tigre, nós não somos tão flexíveis quanto um macaco. Então, o que faz de nós humanos os detentores do planeta? O que faz com que a gente domine esse lugar? E a razão.
So I'm giving you the end answers, but there's a whole progression of arguments that I'm jumping over just to give you the final answer. The final answer is what we do, and you don't even notice it because we're doing that automatically, is we use reason all the time. For example, when I say what a bottle is, okay? You know that this is a bottle, right? And there are many types of bottles in different sizes, in different colors, but you know, for some reason, that all of those existents have some kind of common denominator that allows us to abstract it into one family of things, and we unite them in one concept in the form of a word. And that is the power of the human mind, what is called conceptualization.
E às vezes a gente não percebe, mas usamos a razão o tempo inteiro. Então, se eu pegar esse objeto e dizer que é uma garrafa, nós vamos pensar que podem existir várias cores, vários modelos, mas nós pegamos esse conceito e colocamos em uma categoria e transformamos isso em uma palavra, né, a garrafa. E isso é o que a gente chama de conceitualização.
So if you ask how a baby understands what a man is, what a wall is, what a TV is, they're doing that almost automatically. And that is the power of the mind. We actually make up things that don't exist in reality. When I say a microphone in Chinese is sounding very, very different, but we all, in a very sophisticated process in our subconscious, create a world of abstractions that are trying, and the goal of those abstractions is to try to shrink all of the existence in the world, all the knowledge in the world into this small space. Think about all the men and women that ever lived. I unite them in one word: human.
Então, se você perguntar para uma criança o que é uma TV, o que é uma parede, ela vai saber na hora, é quase automático, porque a nossa mente é projetada para que condensemos o significado das coisas. E pensar o que é um homem, o que é uma mulher, todos podem ser resumidos em uma palavra: humano.
Okay, so I'm not going to go into that world which is called epistemology. It's the world of knowledge. It's the study of knowledge in philosophy. I'm going to focus on the ethics that comes out of epistemology. So I will give you the structure of philosophy. It answers 5 questions. The first question is, where are we? Are we here? Is the world one? Are there other dimensions? Right? Is the universe eternal, or did it start sometime? This is called metaphysics.
Então eu não vou entrar tanto em detalhes na epistemologia, que é o saber do conhecimento, mas eu vou entrar um pouco do que vem disso e perguntar para vocês 5 perguntas. A primeira é onde nós estamos, qual é esse mundo, o que é real para nós.
The second question is, how do we know? What is true? And that's called the world of epistemology. And you can say we know because things are, again, revealed to us from some other dimension. Somebody tells us what's right. And the other school of thought is no, we know nothing until we learn it ourselves with the power of reason and integration.
Então a outra pergunta é como nós sabemos? Quem disse pra gente se essa resposta veio de outra dimensão ou se alguém falou o que é certo e o que é errado? Como esse conhecimento é adquirido? Isso vem da epistemologia também.
So if we know the nature of reality, which is metaphysics, and we know the nature of our mind, which is how do human know what they know. Now we can ask the question, what is the good? How should we do the good? And here there are, again, two schools of thought. Basically, you do what you're told, and somebody tells you what's good. For instance, be good to others, or take care of yourself, or respect your mother and father, or don't lie, right? Or don't kill. So it's either commandments. And the other way to look at ethics is that we can derive it like we derive math. I mean, looking at us and what's good for this animal, and then deriving principles that define what is good for me, what is going to make me the best or in a state of thriving. So ethics is that world where we ask what is good and what is bad.
Então, a ética, basicamente, é aquilo que define o que é bom e o que não é. Você pode ter uma pessoa te dizendo isso é ruim, obedeça seus pais, não mate, não roube. Ou você pode ter essa introspecção e entender por si mesmo o que para mim é bom e o que para mim é ruim. Essas são as duas faces da ética.
From ethics, we have two more questions. One is if I know how to live well as an individual, how should we live in a society that gives rise to the world of politics? And the fifth one, which people underestimate, is why do we need art? What is the purpose of art? And Rand's answer to that is because it's food for the way we conceptualize the world. In a way, it's like food for our mind. The human mind needs some kind of a vision to what we should aspire to. That's the world of aesthetics.
Could you repeat the fourth?
Yeah, so the fourth one is politics. How should we live in a society? And the fifth one is aesthetics.
Ok. Então a quarta pergunta é política, como nós como indivíduos devemos viver em sociedade. E a quinta pergunta tem a ver com estética, porque a arte é importante para nós como seres humanos.
Okay, so now at my presentation I can go in two directions. One is to explain to you why liberty is good for humans because of epistemology and ethics, and why liberty is like food or nuts for the squirrel. Or I can go in, I think, more interesting direction, which is happiness. So I will focus not on why liberty is good. I will say one thing about liberty. This mind, this machine, that integrates all the types of bottles in the world into one concept, works in a specific way. And in order for it to do what it does, it cannot be under coercion, it cannot be under force. Once you introduce even the threat of force, this machine starts breaking up.
Então agora eu posso ir para duas vertentes. Eu posso falar sobre a liberdade e como o que nós buscamos é como comida para os nossos pensamentos, comida para o esquilo. Ou o que eu acho um pouco mais interessante é a felicidade. Mas eu vou dizer uma coisa sobre liberdade, né? Como nós pensamos em, por exemplo, como em todas as garrafas do mundo podem ser traduzidas em um conceito só. Em algum momento, esse momento de conceptualização pode ser quebrado.
So if you are trying to protect liberty because of the argument that it works, you will fail. Because people want to do what is good. And if you tell them that giving for others and sacrificing for others is the good, they will build big governments who will redistribute your wealth, and they wouldn't listen to the fact that, we tried it in Russia and we tried it in 10 other places and it doesn't work. You will fail. The only way to explain why liberty is better than collectivism is by going all the way down to epistemology and philosophy and showing that the reason why the Russian scientists are not as effective as the American scientists is because they work under coercion and they work in freedom.
Então, quando a gente passa a entender essa ideia de liberdade e que nós, como seres humanos, vamos falhar se pensarmos que é sempre sobre o outro e é sempre nessa situação altruísta, como, por exemplo, o governo de vários países que são comunistas e que fazem essa redistribuição. Você pode construir um país grande, uma comunidade grande, mas a partir do momento que você não olha para si, existe essa quebra.
And if you want Rand's, I think, best defense of why capitalism is the only method of living and a social organization that is good for humans, you need to read this book. It just came out in Portuguese. You will read the title.
E caso vocês queiram entender por que o capitalismo não é só o melhor, mas a única forma em que os seres humanos possam viver bem, vocês devem ler esse livro que acabou de sair em português, se chama Capitalismo, o Ideal Desconhecido, da Ayn Rand.
This is why if you ever hear, if we just applied socialism or any kind of collectivism, well, it will work. It's like saying that if I drop this mic, it won't fall to the ground. It's scientific. We can prove it in a different type of science, which is called philosophy, and not the normal science we know, because it's the science of the human consciousness. But I can prove to you, as 2 plus 2 equals 4, that the separation, first, we need a monopoly on force, and because force is the only thing that corrupts the mind. So we need to monopolize it and give one entity. No, I'm not an anarchist. I actually think that anarchists are worse than communists, because that's where people kill each other. It's like gang warfare. We need a monopoly on force by a government that manages the army, the police, and the courts, and it is completely separated out from any other activity other than those, in anything that has to do with the economy.
Então, se eu falar que o socialismo ou qualquer outra política coletivista funciona, é a mesma coisa que eu disser que eu vou derrubar esse microfone e não vai cair no chão. Então, eu acredito que não tendo essa visão anarquista, porque eu acho que os anarquistas são piores que os socialistas e os comunistas, mas pensar que nós devemos deixar uma parte monopolizada para o exército e a polícia e a segurança, mas e deixar isso à parte de qualquer outra vertente, como por exemplo a economia.
That's it, I'm done with politics. Now I'm going to talk about something more interesting.
Acabei com a política, agora algo mais interessante.
So, I want to talk to you about what you can learn from philosophy about your own life. Forget Brazil, forget about Bolsonaro and Lula and all the mess and all of that. Think about your own life, okay? You are free enough to make your own decisions. It's true, they take your taxes, great. Let's talk about you. Let's assume you live in a libertarian heaven, okay? And you walk out this door and there are no taxes and everything is privatized and there's complete freedom.
Então agora eu quero que vocês pensem no sentido da vida e da sua vida especificamente. Esqueça a situação do Brasil, Lula, Bolsonaro. Eu quero que vocês pensem que saindo por aquela porta não tem impostos nem nada. Pensem na sua vida como completa liberdade.
What do you do now? And I'm talking especially for the young people in the room. How would you know to go out and live your life? What is the code by which you are going to make decisions? Because you can do anything you want, right? How would you know how to make this person, you, the happiest it can be? the way I start is like a scientist, and I start with definitions.
E agora pensa, o que você vai fazer? E eu falo principalmente para as pessoas jovens da sala. Agora que você tem essa liberdade, o que você faz para buscar essa felicidade? E eu, como um cientista, busco isso através de uma definição.
Okay, so I don't know about you, but everything that I know, I want it to be 100% clear, black and white. I don't like vague, oh, it's something like, maybe, some people think like that, some people, it's like, what is the right answer? I believe that reality is one. And with the power of our mind, we can either figure it out and build cars and machines and projectors, or not figure it out and then fail, right? So I'm going to be as clear as possible about the definitions of things that nobody told you are really clear. It was vague up until now. So I'm happy you're here.
Eu gosto de ser muito claro nas coisas que eu falo. É tudo preto no branco. Eu não gosto de respostas vagas e abstratas. Então, pensando nisso, eu trago definições aqui que realmente vão te dar respostas claras de coisas que vocês realmente só souberam de forma vaga.
I'm going to give you a definition of what happiness is. What is the goal of your life? Okay? So it's going to be a little complicated because we are complicated beings. Philosophy is not easy, it's pretty abstract. But I'm going to try to be as specific as possible. The definition of happiness, the state you are trying to do in every waking moment, the reason why you're here, the reason why you woke up in the morning and brushed your teeth, you went to work, you saved some money, you raise your kids, everything that you're doing is for the state of happiness. And here's a definition of the state of happiness. The state of happiness is a state of consciousness which proceeds from the achievement of one's values.
Então aqui, pensando nesse conceito de felicidade, devemos buscar aquilo, os seus valores, as razões pelo qual você acorda, escova os dentes. Então aqui nessa frase temos que o conceito de felicidade é esse estado de consciência que procede da realização dos valores do indivíduo.
And I really recommend getting this book, which is where this definition is as part of an article.
E eu recomendo esse livro, de onde sai essa frase da Ayn Rand, que se chama A Virtude do Egoísmo.
Okay, so let's break it down. I'm an engineer. I like to break things down and then put them back together. What I see in this definition is actually, I want to read it in reverse. What she's saying is, first, you need to figure out what your values are, what you want. Then you need to do everything required to achieve it. And the output of that process of figuring out what you love and what you want and going after and achieving it gives you automatically a state of mind which is a prolonged state of mind. It's not like I'm happy on Monday and I'm miserable on Tuesday. So that is the equation. Figure out what it is that you want, which is a very tough question. Then figure out all of the complexities associated with achieving those values. And then the output will be a state of consciousness that we call happiness.
Eu sou engenheiro, então eu gosto de subdividir as coisas e trazê-las de volta. Então, indo de trás para frente, temos esse sistema onde vemos primeiro quais são os nossos valores, quais são as coisas que nós amamos e nós queremos. Depois, o processo para alcançar essas coisas e que nós podemos fazer para alcançar isso, até estarmos nesse estado de consciência que é a felicidade. Não somente estar feliz em um dia e triste no outro e miserável em outro, mas esse processo constante de sermos felizes.
So now you would ask me, okay, she's saying figure out your values, achieve them, and you will be happy. What is that thing called value? What are those things that you want? And she puts a pretty broad definition called value is that which one acts to gain or keep.
E agora você deve estar pensando, tá, mas como eu faço isso? Primeiro a gente tem que definir o que é valor, né? E a Ayn Rand define isso como valores é aquilo que cada um age de forma a ganhar aquilo ou manter aquilo.
And pay attention to the fact she's saying one. Nobody can tell you what to want. If I like playing the drums, and I like race cars, and I like philosophy, and I like writing, and my dad wants me to do something completely different, he cannot tell me what to want. I need to figure it out because I, as a person, have my own nature. The beautiful thing about humans is that you ask them what they love, and it's almost the opposite. One likes to work with people, one likes to be alone. One likes to dance, one likes to make computer games, right?
E aqui a grande questão dessa frase é essa palavrinha, o indivíduo, porque ninguém pode te dizer exatamente o que você gosta. Eu, por exemplo, gosto de corridas, gosto de filosofia, e a gente vê aqui que cada um tem a sua paixão. Então, de alguma forma, um gosta de trabalhar com pessoas, outro gosta de trabalhar sozinho, o outro gosta de cantar, o outro gosta de desenvolver jogos de computador. Então, cada um tem o seu próprio valor.
And she says another thing, you need to act. It's one thing to dream about what you want to be and to explain to yourself why you want to be that thing. And the other thing is not enough to sit on your sofa and think about it. You need to act to gain or to keep it. By the way, some of the things you just want to keep, like my life. What my heart is doing now is a value, right? It's trying to sustain my life. Or I eat every day in order to sustain a life. It's not a goal that I don't already have. Or I pay the mortgage in order to keep my house. So everything that I want to achieve or I want to sustain is a value in my life.
Então aqui outra palavra importante é o ato, a ação, aquilo que você vai agir para que aquilo continue na sua vida. Então todos esses valores, aquilo que você valoriza, aquilo que você ama, como você vai agir para manter aquilo dentro da sua vida.
So it sounds pretty simple, but you'll see it's not that simple because we are complex beings. Basically what she's saying, there are values in the world and there are values that are specific to you. You need to discover them. And it's a very interesting process how you can teach yourself how to discover which values in the world are yours. And you'll find that some of the things you're doing today are not your values. Somebody told you to go after them. But why are you doing it? For instance, a lot of people go to university and learn things they're not really excited about because somebody told me it's important. So the first thing is discover your values, and the second thing you need to act. And learning how to act effectively is a whole other study of how to go out and achieve effectively the values that you set for yourself.
A grande questão é descobrir quais são os seus valores, porque às vezes aquilo que você está trabalhando na sua vida agora não é algo que você realmente gosta, é algo que alguém te falou para fazer. Por exemplo, muitas pessoas na universidade estão estudando coisas que não são realmente as paixões dela. Então, a gente deve, além de descobrir nossos valores, descobrir como agir efetivamente para alcançar eles.
I want to tell you, two things. Let me go back. If you think about, if you think about every story you've ever heard, every movie you've ever saw, it has basically three parts. Someone wanted something really bad, it was pretty hard to get it, they got it. There's a reason why we call it the heroic journey, or the journey of the hero, because this is what humans do. They want something, right? They work really hard to get it. By the way, in order for it to become a story and not just a story about a normal person, it needs to be really hard. And then they get it. And that's the good ending that we're all looking for in every good movie.
E quando você olha qualquer livro ou qualquer filme que você já tenha assistido, é sempre a mesma história. É uma pessoa que quer alguma coisa, essa coisa é muito difícil de alcançar, mas ela consegue. E isso que a gente chama da jornada do herói, né? E como a gente percebe que queremos alguma coisa, como vamos trabalhar naquilo para finalmente conseguir aquilo.
So I have a podcast called The Happiest Man Alive. And you can ask me, how dare you call yourself the happiest man alive? So if somebody asks you, you can tell them you met the happiest man alive. He talked to you for about an hour. And I'm not joking. But when I say the happiest man alive, I'm not competing with you. I'm competing with myself. I wish for you to be in a state of living where me, and I have to say I'm a very, very happy person, where I cannot imagine a parallel universe. You know, there's a movie called Revolving Doors, right? If you go right or you go left. I cannot think about another reality where I'm doing something better than what I'm doing today. But it took me many, many, many years and a lot of study to get to understand the principles that allowed me to get to that state of mind where I'm not, if you pay me any fortune in the world, if you tell me, promise me whatever you want to promise me, I will still be doing the same exact thing I'm doing today. I have many values in many domains of life, and I pursue them very effectively.
Então eu tenho um podcast chamado Happiest Man Alive, ou O Homem Mais Feliz Vivo. Então, se vocês disserem como ousa, né, ser chamado o homem mais feliz, mas realmente aquilo que eu faço hoje eu não trocaria por nada. Poderiam me oferecer milhões de dólares e eu continuaria fazendo o que eu faço porque é isso que me faz feliz. Se algum dia alguém perguntar se você já conheceu o homem mais feliz vivo, aqui está.
So I am not going to give you all of my, my learnings, because that will take a long time, and I really urge you to read a lot of Ayn Rand because she can literally change a life. And by the way, you're welcome to connect with me after this presentation. I want to describe to you or motivate you to do this because I want to describe to you how it feels for me to be a very, very fulfilled, very happy person.
Bom, e por isso que eu indico a leitura da Ayn Rand, porque é isso que ela nos traz. E eu quero que vocês sintam também essa realização e esse sentimento de sentir plenamente feliz.
So the first thing I think about of why I'm a happy person is that I'm good at living. I walk around every day, I wake up every day knowing that Tal has taught himself who he is, who he's not, get rid of everything that he's not and not care about it, doesn't care what other people say, and I know how to get what I want. So I learned and I taught myself how to be good at living.
Então a primeira coisa que traz essa felicidade, que me traz essa felicidade é que eu sou bom em viver. Eu descobri quem eu sou, quem eu não sou e como eu sigo a minha vida dessa maneira.
I know myself very intimately because I know how to introspect, which is something we don't teach our kids how to do. We call it mindfulness and all kinds of things, asking them to close their eyes and think about nothing. I say do the opposite. Close your eyes and think about who you are and what you love. Give yourself an hour, half an hour of some quiet time. Write down, what do I love about this world? Why am I feeling sad? Why am I feeling anxious? And introspect much more in order to know yourself and the nature of your subconscious and your conscious mind.
Outra coisa é que eu conheço a mim mesma, porque eu trabalho com essa introspecção, que é algo que nós não ensinamos para as crianças. Muitas vezes nós pedimos para elas fecharem os olhos e não pensarem em nada, mas eu digo para fazermos o contrário. Fechar nossos olhos e pensar em quem nós somos, o que amamos, talvez escrever isso, o que eu amo sobre o mundo, o que eu quero alcançar.
I'm very value-oriented, and that is something that is misunderstood. Happy people are very concerned about what they love, and they couldn't care less about what they don't love. You can translate that because it's important.
Okay. Então, outra coisa, eu sou orientado por valores. Então, as pessoas, elas têm muita certeza e amam aquilo que elas amam e não poderiam se importar menos com aquilo que elas não amam.
To be value-oriented is like going out to the world every day like a child, like you go into a sandbox, you know, in a playground, and you try to look for the things that are going to make your life better. More people to meet that are interesting, more knowledge to learn, more things to create, more people to do business with, more friends to have fun with. For me, I don't know, I like, you know, car racing, so another race to race if I like car racing, another gig to have if I like to play music, another book to write, right? Everything that I look for in my life are all only values. I see life only through a prism of what kind of value this thing or this person or this activity presents to me, and I'm so good at it that I have too many values and I have to prioritize what is more valuable to me because I have to not do a lot of things that I want to do because the only limited resource in the world is time.
Então, nós devemos olhar a vida como um prisma e olhar para essa vida orientada por valores. E olhar para ver qual é o próximo negócio que eu vou fazer, a próxima pessoa que eu vou conhecer, o próximo livro que eu vou escrever, e pensar, e eu sou tão bom nisso, que tem tantos valores que eu preciso priorizar e dizer não para algumas coisas que eu quero fazer, porque a única coisa o único recurso que nos é limitado é o tempo.
And I will make it short. The last thing I would say about the way I feel happiness is that the way I pursue values is virtuous. I don't lie, I don't cheat, I don't fake, right? I am honest and just, and there is a reason why I decided to act this way, because I figured out a moral code from understanding philosophy and why those principles are good for me.
E a última coisa que eu quero dizer é que essa busca pela felicidade é, além de tudo, virtuosa. Eu sou honesto, eu não minto, eu procuro sempre a verdade nas coisas que eu faço. E a parte final, the last part.
Those principles are not something that I got from some. I figured out why those are good moral principles because they're good for me.
Okay. E eu percebi que esses princípios não foram ensinados para mim, mas foi algo que eu percebi que eles eram moralmente bons para mim.
The reason why I don't lie or steal, it's not because God said so. It's because if you understand the functioning of your mind, you will understand that faking reality is like putting sand in an engine. It breaks down because our subconscious mind cannot fake reality. So if I take somebody else's money, even though I need it very much, I will always remember and always see myself as a thief. And this is why it's not good to lie, to fake reality, or to violate somebody else's rights, because it's not good for me. If it was possible for a human being to forget that they stole, stealing would be good. I'll say it again. If it was possible for a human being to really forget completely that they stole money, I think it would be good to steal money. But the reason why it's not good, it's because of the way our mind functions. So it's not good to fake reality, it's not good to steal from other people, or violate their rights, because then I know that they will violate my rights. So every principle in my Bible was figured out with the power of reason, not because it was a commandment.
Então, eu penso que eu não minto, eu não roubo, porque como posso explicar? Porque isso não foi ensinado para mim porque um Deus falou para mim isso, mas quando nós criamos essa falsa realidade, nós trazemos para nós mesmos uma coisa que não é nossa. Então eu não roubo porque, enfim, o sentido ali de roubar é tirar algo ali que não é seu. E quando a gente faz isso, nós meio que criamos uma falsa realidade em cima daquilo.
I'm sorry about taking it. So I want to finish by, because I said a lot of things, with some tips and tricks. What can you do tomorrow to make your life much better? That's, just leave you with not such abstract ideas. So I think what you can do is create a process that allows you to, one, observe yourself and know yourself much better and be true and honest, not lie and not fake, because you can convince yourself that you're someone else. Most of us are under a lot of cultural pressure to be someone else. The key is to observe yourself and to know yourself.
E aqui é meio que um guia para alcançarmos essa felicidade. Primeiro, observar e para nos conhecermos melhor e sabermos e entendermos como nós vamos participar desse processo.
So I'm going to give you some kind of a bridge from the philosophy of objectivism that I really think is the best system of ideas we have right now to your own life. So I won't take you through the whole process. I'll give you some examples on how to observe yourself and know yourself, and then to how to figure out what you want, and after that, go out and get it.
Então aqui nós vamos pegar essa filosofia do objetivismo para transformar isso em um plano de ação, para planejar aquilo que, observar aquilo que queremos e planejar esse processo até alcançarmos.
Okay, so the way to answer the question, let's say I asked you, who are you? It's totally difficult to answer, right? So most people give you the demographics. Oh, I'm old, this is how old I am, this is where I live, I got 2 kids, I work there, and so on, and they can talk for 2 minutes, but then it's like, but who are you?
Então,
You gave me all the demographics.
Então, se eu perguntar quem é você, é uma pergunta muito difícil. Então, você dá o básico, o demográfico. Esse é meu nome, eu tenho tantos anos, eu tenho tantos filhos. E eles poderiam falar por várias horas, mas quem é você?
If you think about it really deeply, the only way to know someone, it's not like you can open their head and see who they are, is to see them reacting to things in life. It's through their values. If I told you, my name is Tal, I love abstract ideas, I love philosophy, I love racing cars, I'm very competitive, I love playing the music, right? I get super excited when I see Ayrton Senna racing in his McLaren. I love teaching, all right? I love writing non-fiction, I love making up stories. After you know all those things about me, suddenly you know who I am. Not because you opened my mind, but because I told you what my mind responds to.
Então a maneira de realmente conhecer uma pessoa não é abrir a mente dela, mas ver como ela reage às coisas da vida, como ela se identifica ali com aqueles valores. Então, por exemplo, se eu disser que eu sou o Tal, eu amo corridas de carro, amava assistir o Ayrton Senna, adoro ensinar, adoro escrever livros de ficção e trazer e criar novas histórias. E agora sim, vocês entendem quem eu sou. Vocês não precisaram abrir a minha mente.
So, I'll give you a couple of exercises you can do for yourself to really, I think, deepen your ability to be a true happy person that is connected to yourself.
Então eu vou dar alguns exercícios para que vocês façam e realmente se descobrirem, se conhecerem melhor e principalmente sobre os seus valores.
I want you to take sticky notes. You know what sticky notes are? Right?
Quero que vocês peguem alguns post-its.
The yellow ones you can stick on the wall.
Aqueles papeizinhos que você pode
And I
colar na
want you to
parede.
take a whole pack and write in each and every one of those cards something you love about life.
Eu quero que você pegue um pacote inteiro e escreva em cada um deles coisas que você ama sobre a vida.
It could be people, it could be activities, it could be things you've done before, things you're looking forward to. It could be anything that you find meaning in.
Podem ser pessoas, podem ser coisas, podem ser coisas que você já fez, coisas que você ainda vai fazer, mas que seja qualquer coisa em que você ache significado naquilo.
But I want to warn you. Everything that goes on one of those cards should be yours, not somebody else's. If it's something you say, I'm doing it and I actually have it, but it's not that I really like it, then you don't put it on a card.
Mas uma única coisa, o que você escrever deve ser seu, não algo que alguém te disse para fazer, que alguém falou para você, ainda que você esteja trabalhando naquilo agora. Se não é algo que vem de você, não coloque nos papéis.
You stick them on the wall and you try to put values that look like they're in the same realm or the same domain close to each other. So you create like clusters of values. Maybe the people, the friendships, the relationships you have, maybe the productive activities you like to do that are more, creating something, the things you like to do for leisure and fun and just, hobbies, the thing you do in order to just relax, So try to put those in clusters and you'll see something amazing happen.
Depois que você anotou tudo isso, busque colocar as coisas que são nas mesmas categorias próximas uma da outra. Então separe em grupos, primeiro um grupo para os amigos, para os seus relacionamentos, depois um grupo profissional, outra categoria sobre lazer e atividades produtivas que você faça, divida isso em cada categoria.
And after you do all of that and you take a look at that and you let it just absorb it for a couple of days, try to create what I call value themes. Value themes are those yellow big circles that try to find the common denominator of the different things, of the different instances you love, the type of people that you are attracted to, the type of activities you're attracted to. Try to find those common denominators that I call value themes.
E depois disso, você vai tentar ver nessas categorias quais são os seus temas de valor. Então, buscar ali quais são as pessoas que você ama, que tipo de pessoa você ama e gosta, que tipo de atividade você ama e gosta, e colocar dentro dessas caixinhas, essas bolinhas alaranjadas, que são chamadas aí de temas de valores.
And after you figure that out, I want you to take all of those sticky notes and put them in 4 categories. 1 is everything that has to do with career and productive activity. By the way, it doesn't have to make you money. If you like carpentry and you don't do that for a living, but you still love doing it for the sake of creating something, you put it in career and productive activities. If it's anything that has to do with relationship with other people, you put it there. Now, within that category, there are 4 categories: romantic, family, friendships, and professional relationships. Professionals, people you learn from, or you really, like your teachers or colleagues or whatever.
E aí depois você vai pegar todos esses post-its e separar nessas 4 categorias. A primeira é carreira e algo relacionado ao trabalho, mas não necessariamente aquilo que te traz dinheiro. Então, talvez como é que é o nome? Gosta de trabalhar com móveis, com madeira, igual Jesus fazia, né? Se é algo que você ama, mesmo que aquilo não te traga dinheiro, você pode colocar nessa categoria. E a segunda categoria são os relacionamentos. E nisso existem 4 tipos: o relacionamento romântico, o relacionamento familiar, as amizades e os relacionamentos profissionais.
The third one is health and rejuvenation. Everything you love doing to improve your health and to improve your leisure time and your downtime, all your hobbies, your fun, the partying you like to do, everything of leisure is there. And the fourth one is every activity that actually produces wealth for you. Wealth, I mean money. And I'll explain why.
E na categoria saúde e rejuvenescimento, aqui cabem todas as atividades, sejam para a área da saúde como na área de lazer, aquilo que você gosta de fazer, como andar de bicicleta, um exemplo. E a quarta categoria tem a ver com riqueza, tudo aquilo que te traz dinheiro.
By the way, a lot of people connect the career and career and wealth together. They say, if I like doing something, I have to make money off of it, and I think it's a fallacy. I won't go into that, but I want to separate those out to two categories. You can make money one way and be creative in a different way. You don't have to merge them, and a lot of people live a very frustrating life because they say, I always wanted to do be an actor, but I actually am in finance. And there's a way to solve that problem. But the reason why wealth creation is a category by itself, because money is basically time. It buys you the time to pursue your values. So you need to know, and you need to have activities that actually create the time for you to go pursue your values.
Muitas pessoas confundem aí as duas categorias, carreiras e riqueza, achando que elas são entrelaçadas, mas eu acredito que isso é uma falácia. Então, eu acredito que você pode seguir aquilo que você ama e conseguir dinheiro de alguma outra forma. É isso.
And so I won't give you the whole thing, but if you get to the point where you can prioritize the things you love about life into 4 categories in a prioritized list, and I know how hard it's almost impossible right now. If you think you can do that now, forget it. It'll take you months. But if after several months you can get to a list like that, you solved most of the problem. I believe that achieving the values is actually easier than figuring out what they are. So this is the strategic problem. And then, of course, there's the tactical problem that maybe next time you invite me, I will talk about more of what it is that is going to make me happy. And this needs to be your most sacred list. Those are the building blocks of your happiness.
E aqui a gente tem outro exercício para dividir aqui nessas categorias. Eu acredito que o mais difícil não é saber o que você ama, e sim ter um plano de ação para aquilo. Então, quando você coloca isso dentro das categorias, você prioriza aquilo que é mais importante para você naquele momento e busca, sim, dessa forma, a sua felicidade plena.
Okay, so I can't go much further because, it's almost doubling the time of the presentation because of the translation. But I wanted to tell you that the next thing that and you can ask me, baby, if you want to talk about it, is where are emotions? What are emotions, and what is the relationship between our mind and our rational mind and our emotions? And there's a whole world that you need to know about what are emotions, what are the role of emotions, and what they're not supposed to do. Like, if you lead your life by emotion, without reason, not good. If you live your life without emotion, very bad. And the balance between reasoning mind and your emotional world and what are emotions is critical. So again, if you want to ask me about that, I will. I'm going to show you all the things I'm not going to talk about.
Então, uma outra pergunta que eu quero falar é sobre onde está a emoção, né? Porque uma vida deve ser guiada pelos dois, pela razão e pela emoção. Se você vive sua vida somente pela razão, isso é muito ruim. E somente pela emoção, também é isso. Então é crucial ter esse equilíbrio entre as duas formas. E isso vocês podem até me perguntar depois, durante a sessão de perguntas.
Okay, so a couple of last points is that take what you are today and the way you live your life, and know that from now to the day you die, you can live a more profound life. The easy way to think about it is to think about what is called the path of least regret. Think about yourself at the age of 100, asking yourself if what you're doing now is something you will regret or not regret. Meaning, is what you're doing now, spending the grains of sand of your time that are going out slowly, is highly meaningful? or if you think about a better way to spend your time, even though the alternative could be scary, like I need to quit my job, I need to change my relationship, I need to move to another place. I know it's really hard, and I won't be talking about how to deal with change, but what I do want to tell you is that your job, your only job, real job, is to live a deeper life, but by better understanding you, your values, what you really respond to, and what you don't respond to.
A questão crucial aqui é entender como viver uma vida profunda e se entender de uma maneira que você busque os valores corretos, em que você está gastando o seu tempo, em que a sua ampulheta está correndo, no que você está se dedicando, nas coisas que você realmente ama e realmente gosta e realmente quer, ou naquilo que impuseram para você. Então, a grande mensagem aqui é essa, colocar o seu tempo nos valores que realmente importam.
My wish for you is to live a life of a hero. Like your life is something worth writing a story about. And the only way to create the motivation, because our culture doesn't tell you to be heroes. Your mom and your dad most probably told you, live a normal life, find a nice person to live with, have a great, safe job, buy a house, raise some kids. That's it. I wish more for you. And the only way to have a vision of what it means to live a life that you can call a heroic life is to read fiction. And so, in order to be heroes, I think you should read some heroic stories. And I would start with those two books of The Fountainhead. By the way, I would read The Fountainhead first, and then Atlas Shrugged.
Então, o que eu desejo para vocês é que vocês vivam a vida de um herói. Uma vida que vale a pena escrever uma história sobre. E buscar essa felicidade, tudo isso, como a gente pode fazer isso, primeiramente entendendo a sua jornada. E é isso que eu recomendo, que vocês leiam ficção e busquem trazer isso para a vida. 2 livros que eu recomendo da Ayn Rand, A Nascente e A Revolta de Atlas, e eu recomendo fortemente começar por A Nascente.
And the last thing, and I want to invite you, we're going to have this, what I did right now, for about an hour and 15 minutes, for 2 whole days in São Paulo, in September 22 and 23. It's going to be the Ayn Rand conference. It's the second one we're going to have in Brazil, and we're expecting hundreds of people. Please tell when you register that I invited you personally. It's going to be a great event, and you'll have a lot of time to go much deeper into the only knowledge that really is the key for human happiness. So you are more than welcome to join us in São Paulo in the end of September.
Então agora eu tenho um convite para vocês. No dia 22 e 23 de setembro, em São Paulo, vai acontecer a Ayn Rand Con. E tudo isso que eu falei para vocês, em 1 hora e pouquinho, vai acontecer nesse evento em 2 dias. Então vocês podem dizer para as pessoas que foram convidadas pessoalmente por Tal Tsfany e compareçam, porque vai ser incrível.
And if you're a student, we have scholarships. We can potentially pay for your flight and your hotel. So please feel free to apply. Just do Ayn Rand Con Brazil and you'll find the website.
E se você é um estudante, nós temos bolsas de estudos que podem pagar pelo seu voo e sua hospedagem para comparecer ao Ayn Rand Con.
The last thing I would recommend, there's a mobile app called the Ayn Rand University. 60% of the content is translated to Portuguese. Please download it and start looking at the basic courses and then move to the medium and then advanced courses. There's a world of knowledge there.
E eu recomendo o aplicativo da Ayn Rand University. Lá tem muitos cursos e eu recomendo que vocês comecem dos cursos mais básicos e vão crescendo nisso. Grande parte do conteúdo está traduzido para o português. E eu recomendo que vocês baixem o aplicativo e estudem bastante através dele.
So go pursue your values, figure out what they are, and become your own hero. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. And if you want to ask any question, I will take questions about anything, because philosophy touches almost every aspect of human life. So you're welcome to ask any question.
E vocês podem fazer perguntas sobre qualquer coisa, sobre filosofia e qualquer assunto, porque eu acho que tem muita riqueza em qualquer assunto que vocês possam perguntar.
Thank you so much, Tal. I can't put it in words what you just today. Bom, gente, sobre as perguntas, só para dar uma orientação para todo mundo, a gente vai levar um microfone até cada um de vocês. Façam a pergunta, quem quiser fazer em inglês diretamente pode fazer em inglês, quem quiser fazer em português para a Vitória traduzir também é uma opção. Façam a pergunta diretamente para o Tal, depois que vocês terminarem a Vitória traduz e o Tal responde. Então, alguém quer começar?
So, good night, Tal. It was a real pleasure to hear you today. I'm very glad that I came, actually. You told some things that I needed to hear, because even though we can choose our values and we can choose our means of action to try to figure out how to fulfill them, right? We cannot control everything that happens in the world, right? So sometimes life's hard, and sometimes we have to be remembered from this, from important things that can be easily forgotten, right? And my question here is, I'm a professor in computer engineering in University of Brasília here, and teaching it's something very dear for me, and I choose to be a teacher or a professor or whatever. Mainly because it happens myself to be a better being, or pursuing being something, someone better in some way. And you told us that teaching is important for you, that teaching is a value for you, and it's very clear from the way that you speak.
You can sit. You know, one of the things that I say all the time, I have a workshop called Happiness Team. By the way, if you want to take a look at that, search myhappiness.team. It's a workshop that I do about this. It's the easiest thing in the world to see if somebody loves something or not. Just looking at their eyes, their expression,
like
right?
Performer.
So I don't know if you saw how passionate I am about what I'm doing. By the way, if there was no translation, you would see me just jumping out because it slowed me down a little bit. And you did a wonderful, wonderful job. By the way, round of applause for her for doing this.
And the question is, why is teaching a value for you? Why?
Great. It's a very deep question. One of the mysteries of life is that you are born with a specific temperament and a structure here that is you, right? I don't know if, how many of you have have multiple babies. The first one came, my son. He was the most relaxed baby in the world. I thought I'm the best father who ever existed. He never cried. Me and my wife is like, why? If it's like that, we'll have 10. And then the second one came, our girl. And she was like, I don't know how to describe. She came out screaming. And she couldn't, everything that worked with him didn't work with her. Same parents, same environment, completely different temperament. One of the big mysteries, because we don't know how this thing works. By the way, if you think that science, the way we learn about the world, by looking extrospectively will solve what is this, forget it. We're talking about a different phenomenon here. But regardless, I cannot answer the question, why I love teaching. And you know what? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's like asking, why am I left-handed? I'm left-handed, I write with my left.
Who cares? What is important and what is in your control is to find the things that your heart, I call it, I love this term, things that make your heart sing. If you do something, if you meet someone that makes your heart sing,